Hi everyone, I'm Kiki and today we are going to be mastering the British accent. But before we start moving our mouths, we need to answer one very important question. Which British accent are we talking about? If you've watched movies or listened to some textbooks, you might think everyone in the UK sounds like a member of the royal family, or they're starring in some British period drama. You might have been taught to say bath or grass with a very long, deep R sound. But if you walk down the streets in Manchester, Leeds, or even parts of the Midlands where I'm from, you will hear something very different. Today, I'm teaching you my accent. It's a modern, natural British accent that uses something we call the short ah. Now, why does this matter for you as a learner? Because if you try to force a posh southern accent, it can actually end up making your speech sound a bit stiff and unnatural. In this lesson, I'll be breaking down where your tongue should go and how your mouth should move. Whether you're a beginner just starting to find your sound or you're an advanced learner looking to polish your sounds, this video is for you. By the end of this video, you won't just be doing an accent, but you'll be able to understand the mechanics of how we actually speak in the UK. Let's get to work. We're tackling one of the most famous features of a modern British accent, the glottal stop. You might have heard people say butter instead of butter, or water instead of water. Often, students are told this is lazy speech, but I'm telling you the opposite. The glottal stop is a phonetic sound used by millions of native speakers. Using it correctly and in the right place is the fastest way to stop sounding like a textbook and start sounding like a local. So how do we actually do it? Unlike a regular t sound, where the tip of your tongue taps the roof of your mouth, the glottal stop happens entirely in your throat. Imagine you're about to say the word uh-oh. Do you feel that tiny catch in your throat between the and the o? That is your vocal cords closing and quickly releasing air. That catch is the glottal stop. Your tongue actually stays flat and does nothing. Watch my mouth and listen. Butter, better, a lot of. Now, here's the secret rule. We usually use the glottal stop when the T is between two vowel sounds or at the end of a word. Let's practice these 3 levels together. So at the end of a word, it becomes it, what becomes what, right becomes right. In the middle of a word, better becomes better, city becomes city. And in a sentence, I bought a lot of water becomes I bought a lot of water. But don't overdo it. If you use the glottal stop for every T, it can sound a bit forced. In professional settings, we might pronounce the T more clearly, but in everyday conversation, the kind we focus on here at Everyday English with Kiki, the glottal stop is your best friend for sounding more natural. But pronunciation isn't just individual sounds or words. British people also change sounds completely when we're speaking quickly. And that leads perfectly into tip number 2. Practice with native speakers. So one thing I hear from English students all the time is that they understand pronunciation rules when they study, but they freeze when it comes time to speak. And I completely understand that. I've been in the exact same position when learning a language. Reading about pronunciation on a screen or in a textbook and then hearing it in a real conversation are 2 very different experiences. That's why tip number 2, practice speaking with a native speaker, can make such a huge difference. Luckily for us language learners, you can find real native speakers on italki to practice real authentic conversations with, and they will have you speaking like a natural in no time. For anyone that doesn't know about italki, it's an online language learning platform that offers one-on-one personalized lessons with native speaking teachers, which is exactly what you want if you're trying to perfect your British accent. I myself have used and 100% recommend italki. And I just want to say thank you so much to italki for sponsoring today's video. And trust me, nothing will build your confidence more than speaking one-on-one with a native speaking teacher. That's because you receive feedback and guidance in real time from language experts, which is exactly what you want when you're learning a language. Having these real conversations is how you will improve your listening and speaking skills. italki offers more than 150 languages for your choice, not just English. Booking a lesson on italki is such a good way to immerse yourself in a wide variety of languages and cultures without living overseas or leaving the comfort of your own home. Because I know that learning a language can be scary or intimidating, especially if you're working on a specific accent, such as the British accent. And being able to take a lesson with a native speaker in your own safe space is the perfect way to learn while feeling comfortable. Your tutor can design your lessons around your goals and you can learn exactly what you need, which might be anything from holiday phrases or preparing for a job interview. What do you think is the fastest way to improve spoken English naturally?
Take a couple of sentences that you like the sound of how they're saying it and literally copy it like a parrot.
Yeah.
Listen to, your favorite actor say this line, then you say the line, record yourself even. I know people feel a bit silly recording themselves, but nobody needs to know about it.
No, that's true. No matter what your needs and goals are, there's a teacher for you. And one of my favourite features is that you just pay per lesson. There's no subscription required. Just choose a date and time that work for you, no strings attached. You can book lessons around your schedule and learn anytime, anywhere. I seriously love how flexible and affordable italki is. Whether you're trying to practice your accent or start learning a new language, click through the link below in the description. And the best news is I have a great deal for you. Buy $10 and get $5 off your first lesson using my exclusive promo code Kiki26. You have to be fast though, as the discounts are only available for the first 50 users. So you have to be quick before they run out. Thanks again to italki for sponsoring this video. Now let's move on to tip number 3 and the most distinctive features of my accent. It's one that might surprise you if you've only ever studied textbook British English. Tip number 3 is the secret of the short ah. In many southern accents, words like bath, grass, dance use a long A sound, like you're at the doctor saying ah, bath, grass, dance. But in my accent, and for millions of people across the UK, we use a short ah sound. It's the same vowel sound that you hear in the word cat or hat. Let's look at the mechanics of this. To produce the long R, your mouth drops significantly and your tongue stays flat and low at the back. But for my short ah, your mouth is less open. I want you to feel the sides of your tongue lightly touching your upper back teeth, and the tip of your tongue should stay down just behind your bottom front teeth. It's a much flatter sound. Watch my mouth. Bath, glass, answer. Notice I'm not dropping my jaw nearly as much as if I were saying bath. Let's practice these together. I'll say the word and I want you to repeat it, focusing on the tension in the sides of your tongue. Class, not class. Class. After, not after. After. Example, not example. Example. And castle, not castle. Castle. If you're struggling with this, try say the word apple first. Hear that A? Apple. Now keep that exact same mouth shape and say after. Apple. After. They should feel identical. The reason I want to teach you this is because it makes your English sound lived in. When you use the short ah correctly in these words, you don't sound like you're reading from a script. You sound like you're actually speaking the language as it exists today in the real world for millions of people. Let's move on to tip number 4. So, what is the concept of music in British speech? Have you ever noticed that even if you can't understand the words that someone is saying, you can still tell that they're British just by the tune of their voice? That is the rhythm and stress. Many languages like Spanish or French, they're syllable timed, meaning every syllable gets almost the same amount of time. But British English is stress timed. We squeeze the unimportant words and we stretch out the important ones. In my accent, this can sound quite clipped and energetic. It's not just what you say, it's the beat that you say it to. Let's talk about the jump and slide. I want you to visualize your sentences like a staircase. We jump onto the stressed syllable, and then we slide down the rest. Listen to me say the word education. I don't say education. I hit that first ed with more air and a slightly higher pitch, then the rest of the word falls away. Education. Let's try it with a common phrase. Would you like a cup of tea? In a natural British rhythm, we don't say every single word clearly. Would you becomes would ya, and like a becomes like a. Cup of becomes cuppa. The only word we really land on is tea. Would you like a cup of tea? Now let's talk about content versus function. To master this music, you need to be able to identify content words, which are verbs, nouns, and adjectives, and you need to be able to identify function words like of, to, be. Let's practice this sentence together. I'm going to the shop for some bread. The content words are going, shop, and bread. Everything else needs to be fast and quiet. So listen to this. I'm going to the shop for some bread. Can you hear that beat? It's like a drum. Boom, bada boom, bada boom. So here's some homework for you. I want you to pick one sentence from your favourite book. Highlight the most important words and try to swallow the ones in between. This is how you stop sounding like a robot and start sounding like a native. Let's move on to tip number 5, connected speech. Now, if you've ever felt that native speakers talk too fast, it's not because we're actually speeding, it's because of connected speech. In British English, we don't treat words like separate islands. We link them together into one continuous stream of sound. I want to show you the 3 main ways that we glue our words together so you stop like you're reading from a textbook and instead you start speaking like you're having a conversation. Rule 1 is consonant to vowel linking. The first rule is the simplest. When one word ends with a consonant and the next word begins with a vowel, they slide together. Take the phrase, an apple. We don't say an apple. We say an apple. The N moves over. Let's try it together. Pick an apple in the garden. So listen carefully. Pick an apple. See how the K in pick joins the A in an? Pick an apple in the garden. Rule 2 is the intrusive R. To understand this, you first need to know that in my accent, and actually in most British accents, we don't usually pronounce the R if it's at the end of a word. For example, in the words teacher or car, the R is actually silent. We just end on a very soft vowel sound. However, there is a fascinating exception. When a word ends in a vowel sound and the next word starts with a vowel, our mouths naturally want to bridge that gap. To do that, we intrude or add a hidden R sound to link them together. So listen to this phrase, law and order. Even though there's no R in the word law, I pronounce it as law and order. Or take this one, the idea of it. Instead of a gap between the words, I just say the idea of it. It's just a very soft, quick R. It's just a tiny tap of the tongue against the roof of the mouth to help the 2 words flow together. Try it with me. The idea of it. It sounds much more natural and British instead of stopping and starting between each vowel. Okay, rule 3 is twin consonants. Finally, when one word ends with the same sound the next one starts with, we don't say it twice. We just hold the sound slightly longer. For example, social life. We don't say social life. It's one long L, social life. Or sit down. With my accent, that first T becomes a glottal stop and leads straight into the D. Sit down. It's quick, it's sharp, and it's very British. Here is a practice tip for you. Connected speech is all about momentum. Don't be afraid to let your words crash into each other. If you try to keep them too clean, you'll lose the rhythm that we talked about earlier. Pick a short sentence and try to say it all as one single long word. That's the secret to fluency. And I have a bonus tip for you. Vocabulary matters. Okay, so pronunciation obviously matters, but vocabulary changes whether you're trying to learn British English or American English. In the UK, we would say, I need to take out the rubbish, whereas in America, rubbish becomes trash. If you're using these American words, You're just going to sound like a British person using American vocabulary, and that is not what you want if your goal is to speak with a British accent. So try to avoid American words and use a British form instead. Here are a couple more examples for you. You have to take the lift to the 10th floor versus you have to take the elevator to the 10th floor. I need to buy a new pair of trousers versus I need to buy a new pair of pants. Make sure to keep an eye on the vocabulary that you're using so that you don't get into bad habits. Before we end today's lesson, I want to talk about the common mistakes that I see students making, starting with the stereotype trap. When people try to learn a British accent, they can often end up sounding like a cartoon or a villain from a movie. And why is that? It's because they're over-exaggerating the wrong sounds. I want you to sound like a real person. So let's look at the 3 most common mistakes that I see students make, and more importantly, how we're going to fix them. Mistake 1 is the fake posh R. The first mistake is forcing the long R where it doesn't belong. Students often think that British equals posh, so they say grass and bath, even if it doesn't match the rest of their speech. The fix for this is to stick to the short ah that we practiced earlier. If you use my accent's short ah, but keep your natural rhythm, then you're going to sound much more authentic. Remember the rule, keep the tongue wide and the jaw relaxed. Don't force that deep, long doctor sound unless you're actually from the south of England or that's the accent that you're trying to achieve. Mistake number 2 is over-glottalizing. Don't make the mistake of over-glottalizing. This happens when students get so excited about the glottal stop that they start dropping every T from every position. Just remember to never use a glottal stop at the beginning of a word. You can say butter, but you can't say op for top. The T at the start of a word should always be clean and pronounced. It's about balance, so use the glottal stop to create rhythm, not to replace the entire alphabet. And finally, the biggest mistake of all is being afraid to make these sounds. Accents are physical and it's like a workout for your mouth. If you feel a bit silly at first, then you're probably doing it right. And keep practicing those specific mouth shapes that we talked about. Time for a little challenge. I want to go to the city centre and do some dancing at the castle. Now here's how I would naturally say it. I want to go to the city centre and do some dancing at the castle. Did you notice how the words connect together and the short ah in dancing and castle? Whew! We have covered a lot of ground today, from the mechanics of the short ah and the secret of the glottal stop to the music of our rhythm and the glue of connected speech. Remember, an accent is just a physical habit. You aren't learning to be someone else. You're just learning to move your mouth in a new way to connect more deeply with the English-speaking world. Don't worry about being perfect. Focus on being clear and authentic. If you found these breakdowns helpful and you want more lessons, please let me know by hitting that like button. And I have a question for you. Which of the sounds that we practiced today were the hardest for you to get right? Was it the glottal stop or the short ah? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to Everyday English with Kiki so that you never miss a lesson. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I will see you in the next video. Happy practicing!